Grown black folks talk. Grown conversation. Hypergamy is not enough. This is a follow on. You can see the background we have today to what I was speaking to you about in the previous video. How do you live in a world in which men are just boldly coming about their, finding, just like co-signing excuses to abuse and kill you as a woman, and especially as a black woman? What do you do in a case like that? This is the follow-up conversation. A lot of black female content creators that a lot of you listen to that are subscribed to me are telling you the solution to your problems is hypergamy. You see this? That advice will get you killed because hypergamy is not enough. Let me share something with you. The Lord Jesus Christ said it best. A man's life does not consist of the things which he possesses. That also should tell you something else. A man's life does not consist of the things which he uses to get the things that he possesses in terms of his job. That has nothing to do with anything. Whether he has 5 figures or 6 has nothing to do with anything. The gentlemen who most recently have gotten notoriety were a military man who we consider a good man with a good job, and a nurse. Rajahi Black was a nurse, killed his wife and his girlfriend. These are people in good professions who cannot vet them. The FBI, the CIA cannot vet them. And the reason that the institutions of the United States cannot vet these men is because the United States is a society that worships murderers. We don't like to think about that, but we exalt the founding slave owning fathers. And it was okay for them to rape and murder and do whatever they wanted to black women every day. So, in order to properly vet men with this idea toward black women, the United States would have to vet itself. And that's not going to happen. So, we have to use the advantages that we have to understand some things. A lot of our brothers grew up listening to murder music, music that encourages them to demean women, music that encourages them to sell drugs, which is slow murder, for profit, music that encourages them to pimp out women for profit, music that encourages them to hold their territory and get their respect by murder for profit. So they grew up listening to this, and we know this. We also know about the computer games that have come through. I'm 41, so I've seen both Mortal Kombat and Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto is a game so vile that you get extra points for sleeping with a whore and then killing her afterwards. These games that allow people to act out there, and there's many more, but those are just the 2 that I can think about. And you talk about grown men that are still up here doing these computer games that just allow them to act out violence. Now, neither of these 2 things alone, but the second question you have to ask is, first of all, what media has he been programming himself with since he was old enough to choose for himself? And then second of all, who are the male influences in his life? Because even if you do not have these forms of media directly, if he did not have a male influence who was an upstanding man in his life, he will default to the culture. And the culture in the United States of America, because of who founded it, is a culture with the rape and murder of black women. You can still be considered a man. You can still be honored. You can still be darn near worshipped 250 years later, and you can still be considered an honorable man with that record. If you're not sure about this, go read about Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings. We know this history. Go read about what Harriet Tubman had to go through. We know this history. We dealt with it last month. But see, this puts us in a unique position as black women because we can know what our brothers have taken in. How much money he makes does not matter. Because I can give you a nurse, a military man, and if he keeps on acting the way he's acting, he's not checked, potentially even a billionaire artist. There have been some athletes as well. The amount of money does not matter. If he was raised in and agreeing with a culture that is a functionally Satanist culture that wants the right, just like Satan does, to demand worship from people and to destroy those who will not do it, if this is his belief toward black women, and when you consider that we live in the United States that also was founded on believing this, If he agrees with this culture, you will not be safe no matter how much money he makes. Hypergamy is not enough. Here's what a lot of your hypergamy teaching Black female content creators are not telling you. If you get with a man who agrees in this culture, and it does not matter what color he is, you divestists and swirlers, hear this. Asian men feel that they are above us and have no respect. The man who said that Black women are less attractive was Japanese. And of course, China is colonizing Asia. Do you need to hear anything else? Latin America has a 5-step caste system. And Black people at the bottom, and the culture is sexist as well. So you a woman. Understand that slavery was still on and popping to the point that Confederates were happy to go to South America after slavery was over in the United States to buy more slaves and keep going crowding and keep it moving. There is a reason that Nazis felt comfortable going to different countries in South America too. Hypergamy is not enough. You have to get to the character, because one of two things is going to happen, and actually twice, both of them can happen. You're either going to say to yourself, I will go ahead and compromise myself so I can live a good life for a minute, which makes you just as much of a functionist Satanist as the man you're dealing with. Or you blow through the red flags because the money looks good and you end up dead anyway. Or both. You can do both. This is not what you want. Hypergamy is not enough. You would be better off with a man of good, moral, spiritual, intellectual character who makes slightly under 6 figures than you would with a man making 9 figures who does not have this character. Because again, if he defaults to the culture that Black men have put forth in the past 40 years, this will allow him to fit right in to the culture of murderers that funds that. And as I said in my last video, the person that keeps that going is Satan. So you're going to be dealing with a functional Satanist in order to have a 6-figure, 7-figure man. If that's what you want, you've got your own problems to deal with. You also have been sold a bill of goods. You need to work on your own moral and spiritual development. And actually, that's what I was going to talk about today. But then this foolishness happened where I've seen twice in a week men just co-signing on excuses to put us out of here. And I have to sound an alarm so you can avoid becoming a victim. But you have to get down to who is in this man's ears and who has been in his ears, because he's going to be living in a culture where destroying Black women for profit and for pleasure has been settled for 400 years. So if he is not having men around him that lead him in another way, he's going to default. If he has not matured enough to understand that he doesn't want to be a functional Satanist, he's going to default to this. And you're going to be out there trying to get a high value man and default to that. See, the thing about it is that Satanist preacher, the initials KS, who invented that, actually did tell you something. These are men who want to get to the point where they think at 6 figures, they ought to be able to buy and sell y'all for profit. And this man has said that, domestic violence is not a big deal. We hear these men coming up on these shows all the time trying to get us to stop talking about Black femicide because they don't want it to be made a big deal. If you listen, they're all talking the same Satanist foolishness. Bow down and submit, worship me, or I have the right to destroy you. Hypergamy is not enough. That lust for money, the same thing the men you are chasing have, you see it will get you killed. Beware. And be careful about the women that you have in your ears. I was going to talk today about how you get yourself ready for a higher quality of person in general to be around, because I look at the quality of the conversations I have versus the conversations I had 10 years ago with everybody, and there was a process of elimination and adding. I was going to talk about that, but we need to deal with this first. Hypergamy is not enough. Do not sell your soul and your body and your life. Oh, he has 6 figures, or he has 7 figures. A nurse, a sergeant, and a millionaire rap artist are out here stalking, being abusive, and murdering. I don't care whether we sit up here talking about 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures, 10 figures, 10 figures. It makes absolutely no difference. You need to know who that man is on the inside. Dr. Martin Luther King already told us, you judge a man by the content of what? Not his wallet, his character. Let me also say this and tick y'all off again, because you may have missed it. You will be better off with if now you can get a six-figure man or higher with high character, but you have to not be blinded by the money that he has. You have to take how much money he has and just put that off the table. If he made $40,000 a year, could I still live with him? If the answer is no, if there's reasons about this man's personality that you would not live with him with 40,000, then you should not live with him for 100,000, because a lot of the people that can work their way to earning 100,000 are the same men. The only difference between them is the difference in economic ability. That same man resents the fact of he can't get that worship that he sees white men getting. Or he could be a white man, an Asian, or a Latino who feels like because he rescued you, you should be more willing to bow down and worship him. Either way, a man's life does not consist of the things that he possesses or the job that he has. You have to understand what is that man's character and what's at stake. I get my finger to show up here. You see it. All right. I hope the next time we see each other, I will be able to have the conversation I meant to have, out walking around the park, enjoying the late winter, the winter, spring, because winter is kind of, no, winter's over. Hopefully we can get back to those things. But we got too many Black women who are not going to see the spring. And we got too many Black men who are also going to spend this spring locked up where they belong. And too many Black men that are writing their tickets to be next this late winter. So it's grown conversation. All those people teaching you hypergamy, nope. 6 figures, 7 figures, If you don't have the insight to the character of that man, I don't care how much money he flashes. He may be trying to buy you as a slave. Run till you understand who this man is on the inside, who his influences are, and if he has any holy male influence anywhere in his life, inside a culture of murderers that defaults to that toward Black women. One more time. You see it. Thank you for listening. Have a good and safe day.